call me Takbir.
Takbir, great. I mean, what illustrious speakers here, and what illustrious people were trying to, push the edge of the push the edge as far as tech is concerned, and as far as the architecture fraternity is concerned. I'll begin with Viraj, actually. You seem to be a little bit, no offense meant to anyone. Rohan, I'll begin with you later. Viraj, you seem to be wanting to get immersive and virtual reality experiences into architecture. Why?
Because if you know that 3D software, consider the architecture and designing work, like in early 90s, people are used to make models, 3D models, like through which they get an exact idea, like how the property will look and will come. Then if you consider Autodesk, that is a 3ds Max software that comes around in 1996. After that period, like we are mainly focusing on the renders, means 3D renders, through which it is a bit more difficult to understand the actual distance of the property, and to view even one single room, we need to go through 2 to 3 images. And this technology is running since last around, I guess, 25 years, and there is no modification in a great level that I'm seeing right now. And many project owners and architects so many times find the difficulties into the visualization purpose. So 3D virtual reality is something different and unique. Since last many years, this technology is not new. People are not used to utilize this technology. And we have evolved many different solutions to help the architectural and designing part to give a great visualization.
Okay, but why? I mean, is there a demand for it? Or is it just that you're venturing out on your own? I'll come back to the architects later after that and ask them what are the challenges they face as far as basic design is concerned, outputs are concerned. I'll come to them, and I want you to finish and tell me why. Is there a demand, or you're trying to create the demand? Viraj, I'm asking you. That question is to you.
Demand is there. Yes. There's some network issue over here. Demand is there. People are like to move to the new technology. The main reason behind the VR is it is an interactive. So when people interact with the specific property, can visualize virtually the scenario of the upcoming project. So it gives them a more clarity about each and every part. Like we can focus on interior part, exterior part, and with the benefit of 4D, it is 4-dimension, like we merge 3D into real environment in 360-degree. So that is also our USP. I can show you live as well by sharing screen. So through which what happens that even before construction, people feel that it is actually ready and they can have the immersive experience through VR. That's why I feel that the
get
VR
your bandwidth
is
correct. Get your bandwidth correct, and I'd like to see an experience of that. Get your bandwidth in order. If you want, disconnect and reconnect, and then show us. In the meanwhile, I'll go on to Samit. Samit, you deal with a lot of. You're dealing more with the M&E space, not so much with architects. But you probably have colleagues who are dealing with them, or you've reached out to them. What are the challenges that, and what are the evolutions that are happening globally in this space, Samit?
So thanks, Anil, for this question. And I completely agree to what Viraj said is the technology has been evolving. 3ds Max, he just mentioned, has been there for more than 25, 26 years. I take care of the visual effects space and the animation space, but of course 3ds Max falls into my kitty, and that's why I'm also very closely associated with the architects. They use CAD softwares to design, and they've been doing this for quite a long time. But that's always in a design stage, and if they want to convince their clients, their stakeholders, it's always that they need to convert that to a photorealistic image or something that looks real or convincing. So if you go back 15, 20 years, they used to create miniatures, like it was just to showcase how this tall building or mall would look like, and we used to just judge looking at those small miniatures. But then they felt, hey, we can't go inside the miniatures and take them to a tour. So then that's where the the walkthroughs came in, right? Of course, I completely agree to Viraj. Rendering is a big challenge. It's not only in architecture, it's in animation, visual effects, everything, because rendering is the only technology which will give you the photorealistic imageries. Be it VR, be it game engine, anything, it still looks little not too photorealistic. But if you want to have it as a photorealistic output, you have to, or you would definitely would need to render it. So yeah, to overcome that challenge, technology grew and VR came into picture. Of course, it's a great technology, and VR requires two technologies. One is content creation, where all the designed content has to be created, and only then you can have a VR immersive experience. Content would definitely, will remain there, because without creating content, we cannot do anything. Whereas I just feel that VR will grow more. There will be new technologies. The size of the gadgets will become more smaller. 5 or 6 people can experience the VR thing at the same time. So these kind of experiences and technology will keep growing. The content creation side is also becoming very powerful now. As Virat said that 25 years back, what 3ds Max was is totally different than what 3ds Max is right now. And that's what I've been also, educating all the architects, because they're good with the CAD softwares, and they need more hand holding on the 3ds Max side and content creation side. But yeah, technology has grown big time. Content creation side, the tool development has become much more easier, and we have added a lot of automation, a lot of photorealism without rendering, so that even if you want to have a single image, just to convince your stakeholders, you don't have to hit the render button. If I don't know how many of you guys have attended the previous session, yesterday's session of mine, I showed a lot of photorealistic output can be achieved through the viewport itself without hitting the render button. So that's kind of increasing in 3ds Max also, which I'm sure will help a lot of architects and designers in the future.
But you didn't share the trends internationally. What is being done internationally? If you can share some of that.
So Anil, it's the same trend which we also follow. Like, of course, we always say that, hey, we are behind the trend, and whatever happens in the West, and we follow that. But I think now we, as in India, we have started experimenting a lot, and the trend is being set here, and that's been accepted globally. But yeah, even in international market, the trend is the same. It's the content creation and the VR, AR, MR, all these technologies growing, depending on whom do you want to cater to. If it's the internal stakeholders, if it's the end users or customers, and so on. So that keeps changing. And also rendering, people are trying to avoid the rendering task, and hence they want to go into a game engine to have a immersive experience, because it's quicker and real time. But rendering will not go, because even for marketing purpose, you would require pictures and photorealistic output, so that you put it on marketing collateral or brochures and whatever. You would need something which would look like a photograph, but not a 3D output, kind of a design output kind of a thing. So yeah, rendering would remain. And yeah, of course, knowing if you guys have seen my previous presentation yesterday, I spoke about Arnold rendering, which we have acquired and put it inside 3ds Max, and developed in such a way that we also support GPU rendering, which is much more faster than what it used to be. So render time is also being considered and worked upon, so that we reduce the render time and save artist time.
Thank you for that. Mahima, I'm going to ask you the next question. What are the challenges you face while this is about even showing your project to the stakeholders, but what are the challenges you face in basic designing? Can you unmute yourself, please, Mahima?
So thank you for the question. So basically, when we speak about challenges that we face in a very initial stage, so the client initially, they just want to see how they do not really ask you what design are you going to make. They eventually ask you for a 3D or something which they can directly go to and see how their house is going to look like. So, it's very, nowadays people are very handy with the technology. They really know how things are going to work with, when it comes to designing to their own spaces. So they are more aware of different type of technology. They are very much aware of the fact that there are certain software with 3Ds that can really give them a realistic look. So yeah, it becomes really challenging for them to understand at the very initial state, because their requirement in the very beginning would be that they require a 3D.
Right from the beginning.
Right from the beginning. And they do not go beyond asking from the sketches. You know, if you talk about traditional ways, they just simply want that if we have changed some design, they want a 3D right away. You know,
fantastic. Takbir, are you facing the same challenges? And Abhishek and Rohan, you all can come in and step in after that.
Yeah, the thing is that before we used to, we used to work in 2D and then translate that into 3D. And now the way that we work has completely changed. And by now, I mean the last 12 years, maybe. So we're working directly in 3D. So it's, and I think for when you look at clients who are laypersons, it's much more easier for them to be able to understand a space, because we're not asking them to imagine what the plan would look like in 3D. We're just giving them exactly what it would look like when it was built. And also not just 3D models, and in fact using BIM to quickly make changes and create, whatever the evolution of the design that's happening is created almost in real time. So they're able to not just see things like the finishes and the final materials, but also the services and other things. Very quickly, we're able to change them and show them many multiple options. Even parametrically, we're able to develop so many different options that they can see. So I think from the client's point of view, seeing the final output or seeing different options of how the space looks, that's one thing. The other thing is we're using VR tools for experiential sort of presentation of the design. So in that sense, the client is able to, rather than just being able to see it, they're able to experience it and walk through it and interact with that model or with that space that we've designed. So that, I think, we're asking less of the client in terms of imagining. We're giving them more opportunity to be able to see exactly what they'll be getting. And then for them, it becomes a more interactive and immersive experience rather than just seeing what they're given. So yeah, this is something that from the client point of view, I think has really taken things to the next level, where we're able to walk through spaces before they're even built. And you're able to, when it's built, it's tangible, so you can only have one option. But before it's built, they're like, you can show them multiple options, multiple ways of interacting with the space.
Abhishek and Rohan, I mean, is this for every client or is it for some select clients, high-end clients? Yeah.
Is that a generic question or targeted at someone?
No, that's targeted at you and Rohan, and overall,
okay.
continuing
So
from what
I would just like to rail back a little. So what's happening, in my opinion, with visualization in the last maybe decade and a half is that it's no longer a linear process. And I think Takbir picked on it factually, that the expectation, or what Mahima also said, the expectation of the 3D is from day one. Now, and what I mean by a linear process is also the fact that there was a design process where 3D came at a certain stage of design evolution. Definitely. Right? And also this kind of tails back at the last question about the sketching and a pen and so on and so forth. That was probably the last question in the previous session. In my opinion, the sketchbook has changed. For most of us of this generation, the sketchbook is not, I mean, the romance of the pencil or the romance of an Apple pen and an iPad or just using Grasshopper, it's all the same. Whatever works to translate an idea, and the expectation is fair. The expectation is that you have the tools at your mercy that can produce the, and I won't even say a rendition, I would say a model much, much quicker than what was possible in the early 2000s or when I started my architecture, or 90s or so on and so forth. My father is an SPS 76. I'm 2006. Sushant, his sketches are something that I would frame up the wall. I don't have those skills. I don't have those beautiful hand skills, but my modeling skills are much, much quicker and much faster. And my parametric tools are able to generate the options much quicker. So the question is not what is the visualization tool, preferred or what is the vision or where we're heading, it's actually, horses for courses kind of scenario. What is it that you're trying to treat with? There are organized clients like developers who get their renditions done outside. They don't even contact an architect for their final renditions for their billboards. So that is mostly beyond our scope. What is expected of clients is actually a quantifiable output. And and quantifiable output could be, I want to see 4 veneer options. I want to see 3 bed options in a residential. And residential clients are the most difficult in terms of renditions, with all due respect to people who do residences here. They're the toughest. The individual clients are the toughest to deal with. An organized sector is still, like I said, the expectations are preset. So today, visualization for architects is very different from a visualization for a developer. We need faster, quicker tools. And I think Samit mentioned that they are developing like a preview. Rhino already has it, for example. A lot of other softwares also have a preset view. And that's
he calls it viewport. He calls it viewport.
Yeah, a viewport. So it gives you a decent output, because for architects, you need a quantifiable visual. You're imagining something, you can quickly visualize that it's working. You're able to get measurements out of it. You're able to not only see it visually, but you get some data out of it. And of course, for those who are dealing in parametric tools, it has the potential to test different iterations out initially. So visualization is very different from what it was from a single point that, okay, and by the way, another thing, no longer there is a single client who says, you've drawn a 3D, this is the best thing you've ever seen on the planet, and that's it. Because immediately he'll jump on Pinterest or Google Images and flood you with 20,000 more material options or geometry options, and you have to comply, right? So it has definitely evolved. So visualization is not a single this thing. And mixed reality is honestly something that we're trying to jump on instantly as well. And I don't know how many of you see, Takbir, you might have seen these guys. They are Guilan. They've developed this hologram, which is beautiful. It plugs in with Rhino, and they're actually using to build installations currently. So that, I think, mixed reality, just so that you can build in physical space, and I think is definitely the future. And with Autodesk here, I would strongly urge you guys to, if you're already not exploring, that's the way that you lure us in.
Yeah, Rohan. Samit, you can step in later and Takbir. Rohan hasn't spoken. I'd like to hear his.
I would say that, when I was in the UK, my first day in my class, my teacher asked me to hold a pencil and draw. So I am what Abhishek said. I was one of those people who used to represent an idea through sketches, through color pencils, with the primitive tools that we used to have. So before going to the UK, I was a part of an organization where I was told to make 3Ds, and to represent my ideas, to represent my designs, I used help of softwares and all the 3D CAD tools and everything. So in the UK, I developed a habit of sketches and, building all scale models and everything. So when I came back, I saw the trend in the market that, in the part of the initial contract or what you make with your client, your 3D is a step where it was somewhere on the 5th or the 6th point. It was not given very much importance. I think it was given importance when the ideas and the concepts were finalized. Now what has happened is that 3D part has come on number 1. So your client steps in, your client tells you, sir, 3D, we want a 3D, and just show us 3 or 4 options.
शुरुआत से ही बोलते हैं हमें 3D चाहिए जैसे सबने बताया.
Exactly. हमें 3D चाहिए, and probably even they are a part of a research this thing. They go to 4 other people before finalizing us. If not a part of a reference program, obviously that's a separate issue. But then they would come up to you and say that they will tell you that this guy is giving a 3D. Why are you not giving us a 3D? So that is a biggest pain point for us. So sometimes I have lost clients. I'm not ashamed to say it, but I've lost clients because I asked them, I'm not going to give you a 3D till the time the design is not finalized, till the time the concepts are not finalized. So it's just that 3D shouldn't be like the first step. But yes, since it's not their fault also, because as well as we can visualize a room, they cannot do that. So in terms of a residential design also, a family who's making a house for a 4-bedroom or a 5-bedroom, they would want a certain part of a visualization program that they would want to understand how their room would look like, and before putting in their money, what the outcome is and what their room will look like and how the kids' room will come out to be. So then again, from going back to sketches, I am still a firm believer in the sketching program, but then yes, 3D is becoming a part of.
What about commercial? Anyone wants to break about on the commercial side? If you're building a factory or if you're building, is it the same?
obviously, it depends on the size, it depends on the output. So, in 3Ds also we have different variants, so like we have qualities, we have different output sizes. If you want like a print size, if you want 3Ds on your WhatsApp, if you want 3Ds on your emails, so all your emailers and everything will obviously have different resolutions and everything. So everything, the commercial changes accordingly.
No, I'm talking about in commercial is establishment. If you're designing a commercial establishment.
Yeah, so obviously in terms of size and everything, I think commercial people would obviously not go for a 3D as compared to somebody building a residential house, obviously. That's why. So I mean, I have clients who come in with their children, and they are the ones who excited to see the 3Ds the most. They want to see how the room looks like, because I mean, again, they're not as visualizing as we are. As soon as we enter the room, we can obviously see how this will look like. We get our ideas, we start our brainstorming immediately as soon as we enter the space. But they're not as this thing, because they have certain tools like Pinterest. They show me a picture, I tell them, so please don't show me your Pinterest. I have my design concepts and I'm not going to take it from Pinterest. Yes, I mean, if you want to show me Pinterest, this is your design brief, then I can work around it, but I'm not gonna base my designs on Pinterest or anything like that.
Okay.
For developers, like we were mentioned, sorry, jumping in.
Go ahead, please, Abhishek.
For developers, like we said, that for a commercial project, the expectation of visualization from architects is not for the billboard. That's become thankfully a market standard. Definitely, walkthroughs are not an expectation or not a part of any architect's package anymore. Of course, there are softwares now, like Samit mentioned, there are so many gaming engines currently that are providing you quicker outputs. But thankfully, that's off our to-do list, at least for now, because the expectation for the quality or the kind of 3D visualization that is required for a brochure or for marketing, that's a completely different ball game.
I don't mean just commercial residential projects. I mean,
no. I mean any commercial
factory. It could be a factory.
There's an organized client which has a repetition of projects, not a single user. That their visualization is off our this thing. It's only to discuss concepts. It's limited to that.
Okay. Similar with you, Takbir and Mahima.
I think sorry, Mahima, if I just for us, the way that we work, our process is more about it's for ourselves that we do the 3D. So it's more about the design process. It's become kind of an integral part of the design process. I'm sure it's different for different kinds of different typologies of projects. Mostly we do non-residential. We do a lot of installations. We do things which are let's say complex geometries that cannot be portrayed in 2D. So it requires a 3D even for us to understand, even for us to be able to build that up. So it's a lot of data-driven design, which we cannot probably, there's many ways of representing them. But I think for us, 3D and other programs are not merely for presentation or simulation, but it's more for, embedding data. And then I think BIM is one, like Revit is one way that we do it, but other programs that we use, like Grasshopper or other programs, they are for simulate or for projecting what the outcomes could be and tweaking the parameters to be able to get a whole series of outcomes. So when a client, if we are speaking about clients, when a client approaches us, they're not really talking about these things. They're more talking about their problems, and that's where we guide them to talk more about their problems rather than what kind of output they want. So we don't really encourage them to talk about a list of drawings or a list of outputs that they require. The format is set by us, that we will be showing it to you in this format. You might require a VR headset to view your design. You might, as Abhishek mentioned, Follogram. A really good friend of mine, Igor, has worked on, for a steampunk pavilion is what it's called. So they've kind of used Follogram for fabrication. So it's not just about visualization, but also when it comes to the entire, process from conceptualization to fabrication. So programs like Follogram and other AR or mixed reality kind of programs help us fabricate and help us put things on the site. When digital fabrication and digital prototyping was pretty much, coming up, and in India there was this concern that we have a really big population of workers. How are we, are we going to replace them? Are we going to put them all out of jobs just because we're automating things or we're using robots? But I think with tools like Follogram, now we're bringing the worker back, hands-on into the fabrication process, whereas they're able to create complex geometries. And a lot of workers on our site, they use their smartphone as a guide. So everybody has a smartphone, even the mason and the laborers have their own smartphones, and they're able to use them as tools to interact with the computational data or the model, and then recreate that on the site. So we're kind of the threat of the robot taking over has kind of been alleviated, because we're now making the process more participatory to the workers, the skilled workers who are able to read those. They actually are able to read those drawings and translate them.
Okay, Mahima?
So with me, if I talk about commercial spaces, I've always been into building up educational spaces and restaurants. So when we talk about commercial, there are certain people, as Abhishek mentioned, it is completely different from what residential clientele is. So somebody who is building a school, for example, so he already know what he wants. So he would not really want to get into a 3D. First, he would want to discuss his problem areas and then get into something wherein he really wants to be, part of seeing a 3D. But when we talk about residential, it's totally opposite. People really want to know how their house look like. And commercial is, people who are from that background and restaurants, they know what they want, and they, by the end of the day, they want the work to be done on a very up to the mark scale. They do not really waste time on 3Ds until and unless we really give them a very very new concept, which is apart from what they were thinking about. Otherwise, some commercial people do have their own set of designs, what they're thinking, and how the school's going to look like.
Yeah, so I've got other people expressing their pain. This on our chat. Rutu Amalia is saying, so true. I'm facing the same pain in residential projects as an interior designer. Then it's so painful. Even competitors are giving 3D. I don't know how to make 3D, and I have to leave some projects as fees are not so high to outsource to. So coming to the fees, what does that do to your to the budgets?
So say it's equally high. It's if you outsource a 3D person, so it will cost you more. It's better to have your own person, and because eventually you're outsourcing somebody, and you're if you compare a cost per se that you want a 3D made for a house, say a 4 BHK, so he will charge you per, will give you a 2-room view, or like say if they're 4-bedroom, 8 views for 10 to 15 grand. And wherein you can, even hire your own professional person who can, be with you, make changes with you. And it is eventually a hassle to, outsource a person and tell them the changes, because it's not easy. We all know design is not something you can do over a phone or a Zoom call. You really need to have an initiative, have a team sit down with you and discuss all the parameters. And, 3D is something you just can't do over the call. It's better to have somebody, and outsourcing is always possible.
I understand. So how do costs go awry for each of y'all? Is it by, do the clients pay you additionally? Rohan, Takbir, Abhishek, and I'll come to Viraj later.
I would just say that, I tell my clients, I make a contract, I give them 2 separate contracts. I tell them, if you want a 3D, this is the cost, this is the quality that you will get. And if you don't want a 3D, if you just want sketches, if you just want conceptual images, this is a different cost for you. And, like I said before, but again, I would obviously prefer giving a 3D, because I think 3D has become an integral part of our design process now, because it becomes very easy for us, give us a certain detail. There are certain things you visualize, and when you put it in a 3D versus the execution, I think it becomes very easy for us also to explain it to the client that this is how your room looks like, this is how your veneer is, this is how your flooring is, this is how your bed is going to look like. So I think they would obviously prefer a package with a 3D. There are certain clients who I have faced I have done complete residential projects with sketches also, with color pencils also, and I have framed them in my office, and I'm very proud of them. And but again, 3D makes us very easier, because those
No, cost. No, I'm talking about the cost factor.
yeah, so it becomes a little costly with the 3D, obviously.
No, how much? 15,000-20,000 per as
I think
what?
somewhere around that.
Okay.
Per
Takbir,
people.
Abhishek.
Yeah, I'm really, I don't know if it's unfortunate, but we work on, as I mentioned, whether or not the client wants it, that's kind of regardless of that.
So no two
process
contracts, single
has
contract,
been-
one single
yeah,
contract.
so, yeah, it's incorporated 3D, it's embedded in it, whether or not they want it. There's no option. So they will get the 3D anyway. So we don't, and also I think somebody mentioned it's no longer a linear process, right? So it's not subsequently you're making 3D afterwards. You're making it from this, if you're making it from step one, then it's kind of completely enmeshed into each other, the design and the visualization and the fabrication. So I think that's not an option for us.
Okay.
That's right. So there is always a 3D in an architectural studio.
So that comes later, much later. And you may lose the client.
No. In a design resolution, and a lot of studios now, the 3D is honestly on probably the first or the second stage as well, right?
No, but in the past, when I give an assignment,
Yes.
he used to come to me later. Walkthrough used to come to me later, and then he would
I'm
tell me
coming
it's
to
going
that.
to cost
I'm
you
coming to that.
20,000
So-
rupees, 30,000 rupees.
I'm coming to that. So
Yeah.
from an architect's studio point of view, the 3D is always there. It's always lying there. The expectation of a 3D is an ethical and a business conundrum. That's the thing we are discussing here, right? Now there is a certain, so if I am trying to resolve something, I will and I'm not able to do it in a 2D planar, coplanar methodology. I will be building a 3D. I will be helping, the team would be visualizing for our own self. If the client is happy to get involved in that design process, there is always a 3D. It's a 3D is available in week 1. But
Okay.
then there is an expectation of a certain kind of 3D that started, with all due respect, started pissing architects off. Because then the conversation is, mera wala pink dikhao, mera wala green dikhao, mera wala yellow dikhao. That is the annoying bit, and then starts a loop where then you start putting a price on it. Because you just want to avoid that dog work. Is it easy for me to change from yellow to pink? Yeah, it's a press of a button. And there are so many visualization tools will do it in an instant. Like from what has happened from Scanline renders to V-Ray to Corona and so on and so forth, even in the main platforms, it's getting quicker and quicker. It's just the ethical and business conundrum whether you want to get into that loop, because it's a never-ending pit.
And it's going to get worse with Viraj prowling around. With Viraj prowling around to provide you those services. Viraj, show us your demo. Then I'll get on to Sumit.
Sure. I'm just setting my screen.
Yep, expectations are going to go higher and higher. Like Sandeep said in the last session, he's looking for a absolute experiential kind of a. Let's see what he has to offer, Viraj.
Okay, so this is I'm going to show you the 3D virtual reality tour as well as the 4D one. So how it helps then we can compare the cinematic walkthrough and the virtual reality walkthrough as well.
So I have to wear my glasses for this.
No need to
Okay.
wear the glass. Like the options as well. If you would like to wear the glass and experience the things, then it will become the virtual reality. But
Sure.
if you are willing to watch it on a mobile or a PC, that is also possible, which I'm doing right now. So I'll start with the one thing, before I show you the presentation, like what the architect, interior designer, or the structural person, or the project owner or customer wish to see into the part. Like generally, अगर मैं ये question पूछना चाहूँ कि expectations क्या होती है, like people.
नहीं, आपने ये फोटो है कि आपने ये फोटो रियलिस्टिक 3D में बना 3D या मैक्स में बनाया?
Okay.
3ds Max में.
So yeah, this we have done in 3ds Max.
Okay.
So this is the aerial 360-degree photograph which we have taken through the drone. And we have done the web development on the 360 virtual tour, which gives the different features like the taking the real area, taking the different places, so people get to know that where this project is going to come. Like if you see the screen right now, you can identify any building which is in 3D.
Hello, Viraj, we can't hear you.
Am I audible now?
No, you're audible now. Yeah.
Yeah. So can you identify any building like which feels like it is in 3D in this screen right now?
I think it's the one which has the arrow pointing.
Yes, definitely. So this is the we have merged the 3D and the elevation into the real.
That's the Capitol building. The Capitol building is the 3D one.
That is a 3D one. Now,
Yeah.
if you want to look at the Capitol building from the inside, like we are starting with the entrance part, we can go to the entry gate, just simply click on the navigation arrow, then you look into the any direction if you wish to look the elevation part and all, and then we can move forward to the navigation arrow through the entrance, reception area and all. We also have a different options in the VR industry, we have photograph menu. If you directly want to go to any specific area as well, that is also possible. So 4D, this is also one of the another project. I would like to show you something in this.
I'm interested in 4D because these are like walkthroughs almost. These are, in a way, a virtual walkthrough.
Yeah, this is a virtual walkthrough. This is a residential project of 3 and 4 BHK. Like, what would you like to see?
I'd like to see the 4D one. I'd like to see the 4D one. No? Show me something.
This is the 4D one.
Actually, this is the 4D.
Present,
where you included a picture, where you included a model into a 3D model
into the real picture, and it gives the if we consider any balcony view, I'll show you something different. Like if you go to the 4 BHK, let's go to the living room. From which floor, which balcony, actually में कैसा view आएगा, that we can also visualize 3D part.
मेरे को terrace पे लेके जाओ, terrace पे लेके जाओ.
Terrace.
After showing the interiors,
So this is the interior part. Like you can also see the measurement, like room ka size kitna hai, balcony is how much of size. We can also we have also incorporated. This is the view from balcony, which is the real one, like how your balcony will look like.
But this is not the final. This is not the final. This is not a ready to occupy flat, right? The flats are normally residential are bare.
Yeah, this is before the construction.
Okay.
We just through the architectural drawings, we have created photorealistic virtual tour, which can give you the immersive experience. With the VR headset, we can simply even use the mobile phone and touch your screen and drag in any direction, and you can look any part of the project. We have a different features like a floor plan option. You can directly share it on a Facebook, WhatsApp, as well as the new technologies coming, and the people are asking like we need audio guidance. Like we can also put the audio guidance into each photo will have the different audio, and will give the details about particular location. Like the audio one, it's in a different language. You might not be able to understand.
Gujarati mache, ne? Gujarati mache. Gujarati mache.
Gujarati mache. So I'm going to just
Infinity 4D અને 360 EYE દ્વારા નિર્મિત
the entrance gate details.
વિશાળ અને આકર્ષક એન્ટ્રી ગેટ મોકળાશ ભર્યા પાર્કિંગની સુવિધા સાથે
particular area, you will get to know about that USP of that particular part, including the interior structure or anything. So this is the thing which can be utilized as a virtual reality, and there are lots of features to do the live conference. Like if you wish, I can involve you into the virtual tour, and we both can interact and have video conference as well. So this is the technology which can help everyone, considering from the architects to the end users. So very easy to use, as well as the features and the customization is also possible.
Fantastic. Now, can we get back to the conversation? Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Guys, now, Samit, life's going to get more difficult. There's going to be demands for this kind of... So tell me, how will you come into the picture now?
So, Anil, life has never been easy. I completely agree that 3D was a slightly expensive task than 2D. And there were various reasons for us, because 3D involves another set of tool, hardware, skill set. Most of the traditional designers would prefer to draw, as even Rohan and Abhishek said that.
Apart from Takbir says everything's beginning right from the beginning.
So yeah, that's the part, and that's a parcel, the package of the deal. But what I'm saying is, if an art designer would generally prefer to design in 2D, but then how are you going to convince the end user who have no idea? Like for me, blueprints are like thousands of black and blue lines going here and there, and I will not be able to convince myself that how my room is going to look like. As you guys said that the residential clients are much more difficult than all. There's another set of design which customers for us is the people who design sets and sets for films, sets for events, and marketing sets and so on. Residential house is there for lifetime, or maybe 25, 30, 50 years, but those sets are just for 1 day, 2 day, 3 days. But the amount of changes with the marketing team or the client's demand for, it's not that easy for a designer to keep convincing them, showing them changes. And 3D makes it super possible. Like, they go with the options ready because they know the client, and they know that if I show them this 2 options, they're going to ask for 10 more just to see. So the options are always ready. They just take the laptop, go to the set and do the changes, show them the quality. Like for example, how are we going to draw the fabric and show them that this is the texture which you'll get? How are we going to show the flooring effect or the textures through where drawing? Not possible. But this, as Rohan said, becomes super easy for the client to say, hey, perfect. Am I going to get this? Yes, you are going to get this only. Done. It's locked. Most of them says, hey, if you have any other changes after approval, that will be charged separately or extra, whatever. That depends on the business strategy. But yeah, that's something which is now in great demand. But yeah, we also know that the clients are all the clients are difficult. They feel that, hey, this is software. Like, you click and things will happen. Not always. Like, there are certain things where this Merawala pink has to be created by a combination of couple of colors, and then that pink will come, which will take some time. But yeah,
how much time does all this take? How much time of the process is it taking now? Earlier you could draw sketches, you could do everything. I'm going to ask all the designers and the architects too.
So, yeah, so that I'll just quickly wrap up. So that all depends on the complexity of the project, and what, as a software company, what are we trying to do is, obviously we can't say that any 3D model would take 1 day, 2 day, 5 days. It depends on how large detail things we want. But yeah, as a software company, what we're trying to do is try to make things much more easier and reduce the amount of steps, so that if there is a demand and change, if there is a demand on colors, change, whatever, you can do it at ease. Secondly, it's compatible. Now, not everything can be done in 3ds Max. Like, there is 2D involved first. Obviously, you guys will first start with 2D. You guys might design an AutoCAD, Revit, or any other tool. And then that you would need to bring it inside 3ds Max to make the clients happier. So we have a workflow, we have a one-click workflow, so that files can very easily be brought inside 3ds Max without hassle, without losing data, without spoiling the polygons and changing the shapes and size and stuff like that, and then make it look photorealistic. So these are things which we are already working on and will be working, so that things should be easier, faster, and anyone who is not a 3D artist should also be able to do these basic things to.
But I see a lot of marriage coming in with animation and with architecture now. A lot of the animation artists can be brought into architecture and interior design to offer these services, and they can be hired by them.
There are a lot of animation people who are working in the animation industry, very good with 3D. See, we see movies, we see Hollywood, Bollywood movies, and there are set extensions. We don't even know that these are not real. We feel that, hey, this is a real building, this is a real palace, but they are all created, they're CG. So these artists are very talented. They already well trained to create photorealistic output. And when they are used in the Designways industry, what you can expect is definitely a fantastic output, which will really convince the clients that it's photography.
Yeah, so your last comments, I've been told to shut up and get everyone else to shut up because we're running out of time. But I want comments from you all on marriage between animation and architecture and design. What do you all think of that? Using all of you all can comment on it. Rohan, Viraj, Mahima.
I think just to add to what Samit said initially, I would say that, you know, in terms of animation also, it is important not only for the client, but also for the person who's executing that design, you know, because he would understand the complexity of the entire project. He would know that, you know, if we are putting in so much of effort with the 3D or an animation, he would understand that, you know, that the kind of output we want is, you know, super awesome from the executor as well. And in terms of animation, I think it becomes very, very easy because what used to happen earlier in 3ds Max or probably any other software, that we had a certain camera angle. I mean, there was a certain limitations in the camera angle where we would just want to show this 2 corners. In the animation, we can show the entire room, like what Viraj also showed us. We can take him through the entire project in one go. You know, he can just walk through his own apartment, looking at the ceiling, looking at where the air conditioners are, looking where the television is, looking where the switchboards are. You know, so in terms, his experience becomes very easy, very convenient for him to understand how the entire output will be. You know.
Sorry. Give me a second. Oof. Sorry, I went into a link which Takbir sent me and it started emitting audio.
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry about that.
It's just convenience. I mean, what Autodesk is supplying to us, what the softwares are supplying to us, is just convenience, just an experience for the customer. This is the end for the end customer, you know. So, I mean, animation is obviously becoming, I think, life is not going to get easy, obviously, like what you said earlier. And it's not going to get easier for us also, for the software developers, for everybody, for the person who's animating it, you know.
Yeah, so you guys will have to start looking at animation artists to come into your, coming into architecture and design. Mahima?
So I would also say what Rohan just said, design, it is very important to have, technology being added to your design, because eventually it is more clearer for us as designers also if we talk about getting into 3Ds made and seeing the texture and how we have imagined it, rather than just putting your mood boards together. So yeah, it is equally important to have 3D for the designers as well. So it is a great deal to have it, and as time goes around and there's going to be more of new technologies coming in, as we just discussed, and I think there will be more easier way for people to learn these walkthroughs, and then there will be more people who are more.
And VR and MR, remember that also, that's coming. VR and MR in a bigger way, and Viraj is trying to use 4D.
Yeah, so eventually it's going to be a tough market again, I would say, because now 3D is there and it is really difficult, but then when the VR comes, it's going to be massive and the client's going to be blowing out our heads, but eventually, yeah, it's going to be good. It's better to have good technology to the industry.
Yeah, Takbir?
Yeah, I think we're looking at it. I mean, this discussion has been more predominantly about practice. And also implementing and building whatever we design. I think if we broaden the lens a little bit, there's also purely digital experiences as well. The link that I've shared is one of my workshops where it's more of a surrealistic experience which cannot be replicated in the real world. It's more of a immersive kind of experience. And I think with things like NFTs, that are where people want to own experiences that are purely digital, that are not tangible at all. I think that's something that we also need to talk about. And the role of an architect is changing and evolving. So there are many.
Where do NFTs come in for architects? I mean, I'm just trying to make sense. Are you looking at the Taj Mahal as an NFT or
could be? It could be.
So are you getting into that space yourself?
It doesn't. We're looking into it. We're experimenting.
Really, you'll never get permission from the ASI and all of them.
Oh no, we're not looking at like conservation, but looking at imagining new things, because we do realize that our role is we're not really in that space where we're replicating existing heritage structures. But yeah, I think that's a formidable way to go if somebody wants to do that. We're looking more at imagining new things. with data-driven design and these kind of things. So I think really the architects that, what we knew of an architect was it's a designer, a master builder, and we get to implement whatever we design. It's not necessary that we always do that. There are other roles that architects can play, which are purely in the virtual space. And a lot of students now are learning and picking up these skills, and they're deciding that it's okay to be in different kinds of niches rather than the mainstream way that we imagine the role of an architect.
So there's going to be a diversification for architects. That NFT is the way to go, probably crypto and using blockchain. Yeah. Are you going to pioneer that?
I think it's already been pioneered.
Yeah.
We're going to join that.
Exactly.
No, I'm talking about within the Indian context.
I think there's a lot of people who are already.
No, I'm talking about in the architecture side, not overall NFTs.
There are, I think the other day I read Mayur Mistry is one architect who's working in this space. He's not located in India, but yeah, I mean, there are quite a few people who are working this, even from the tech industry and the architecture industry, and the overlap. There's a big overlap now.
There's another business opportunity for you all rather than just designing.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So Abhishek?
So again, just reeling in the conversation, there are three aspects to visualization very clearly in my head. So the willingness from an architect's perspective is always there, right? So it's not a question about the romance of 3D or tech. It's always, an architect is always willing to embrace. And so in my opinion, the benchmark currently for an urban design is probably what happened with Sidewalk Labs in Toronto, with, everything is being data driven, and the design perspective is completely on one side. Of course, privacy and budgeting is a whole new different ball game. So that's like mainstream tech industry like Google stepping into urban design and architecture. So that's where we are at a mainstream industry. So the willingness is not a problem. There's the other side, which is the user base, which is the need for 3D design for a user to visualize, and something that we discuss in practice.
I'm sorry, Abhishek, your voice is echoing, and I think that's my fault because I've sent this link. Anybody who's opened the link, please press the mute button on that link if you've opened it, so that we don't hear that.
I'll switch it off, actually. I'll put it off.
Yeah. So the first, like I said, the first is the willingness of embracing tech, and that's never a problem with architecture or design firms, never. The other is the need base, that's the user perspective. He or she will be able to visualize. That's one angle. But anything that ties both of these very keenly in is the economics of this technology, of the economics of embracing. It's with design costs reducing every day in, day out. The benchmarking is not understood very properly on what the visual outputs require and what is the output, which the way the visuals are can be seen. Every software, every platform has a different visual. So the economics are something that this shows this hindrance of embracing full on. I would love to hire Viraj on every project, but does my project permit? But does my fee permit to do all of that? Not at all.
So what's the ROI on this? Viraj, this is a question, and Samit, and I'd like to ask you all the ROI on this. Both of y'all, beginning with Viraj and then Samit. Viraj, unmute karo yaar.
Considering the ROI part from the client perspective, like if there is any residential project.
I'm talking from the architect's perspective here. I'm talking from the architect's perspective.
See, if we consider the whole project of the residential part, for the architect purpose, it is, to be honest, it may not comes under their budget, because this is around like one which I have shown you, it is around 5 to 7 lakhs rupees. So which might be the fee of one particular project, but it will covers the other it will be focusing to the real estate developers part, not to the interior designers or the architect, because this technology is a bit costly than the normal part. But yes, if you consider the interior renders, this will cost approximately like a 4 BHK or 3 BHK around 50 to 60,000.
Okay. So the ROI, is it possible, all of you guys, and then Samit, you can step in, and also Mahima, Takbir is doing it anyway. She's far ahead of all of y'all. She's going into NFT, she's going into blockchain. Hats off to you, ma'am. Yeah. So all of y'all, 60,000 for a 4 BHK. Mahima?
I think what should I say, 50-60,000 for a 4 BHK. Nobody's going to pay us that amount, you know. So somebody who's doing a residential for, you know, if we say that, you know, just 3D and it's costing some X amount, and then we introduce them with a 4D or a VR technology, and then we are, you know, adding on to this amount is something that would, you know, a client would really doesn't want to invest into. They would rather want that amount to be invested, as we see to that Indian mentality. They would rather want that money to be invested in the house rather than some technology.
But you'll have some savvy clients. Is Rohan around? Has he just walked out because I didn't ask him a
No,
question?
I'm here. So
Fantastic.
I mean, again,
I hope I didn't piss you off.
The amount of the amount of money they would spend on a 3D, I think I have experienced people are telling me that, you know, if I want to spend 50-60,000, I would rather save that money and spend it on a fabric, or probably I would spend it on marble. You know, he would money is not a problem for a client, you know, but is this that, you know, how they improvise, how they want to spend that money is the problem, you know, basically sometimes. And even if they would not understand the complexities of how is a 3D made, the machinery is involved, the software is involved, the licenses that are involved. If you tell them that the software is costing us this much, and, you know, this is the justified cost for a 4 BHK or a 3 BHK, they would never understand that, you know.
Okay, now Takbir has some wise words, wisdom to offer. They will pay. My advice would be to upskill yourself and increase your overall fee. The right kind of client will pay. Now let me get on to Sumit for his last words on, you know, how you can use his software. Maybe that will be more affordable rather than outsourcing it. And poor Viraj will have to only look for VR and MR clients rather than 3D walkthroughs. Sumit, your final word.
I would like to add something, Anil, if you allow. Like
quickly. Because Nia is shooting.
Specifically, if you consider about the company and the pricing, the return on the investment, like the people are there who are doing interiors of 1 CR, 2 CR or something. For that, like this amount would be nothing. And the people are more interested to visualize the things more like it is already built. So that's why I'm also facing the chances for getting the clients. But there are many who would happy spend for this experience. And
so this is at the high end. What about the low end? What about micro rooms, smart micro rooms, which are going to come up in India? Affordable housing. All this is
support from the technology, like because the one rendering process, my one render take approximately 12 to 14 hours on the higher end PC. So if I need to do 5 BHK, it will take my 7 days only for the rendering part.
No, I'm talking about micro rooms, smaller rooms, smart micro rooms.
Smaller rooms can also have the
because the cost will go up over there.
Yes, that is the thing.
Okay, Sumit, your last words. Otherwise, I think Apurva and Prerna and Neha, who are looking after this, will probably shoot me or they'll strangulate me, one of the two.
So Anil, I just wanted to exactly what Takbir said, that, you know, if we position technology separately and say, but hey, this 3D would cost you this much, the client would definitely hit them and say, hey, this is a luxury. See, this is luxury which we are selling, and clients generally don't want to pay for anything that it's luxurious. So it's always good to bundle something and do not, you know, pinpoint that this is this amount, that amount, and so on. And fees and budgets and ROIs is a separate debate altogether, because if Viraj is doing a complete residential building with 50 houses, he's not just designing or, you know, constructing one house, he's doing it for 50 houses. So, you know, once the advantage of 3D is you create one and you can replicate thousands, lakhs, or whatever, you know, so that's the advantage of doing it in 3D and not in 2D. So that has to be planned. Technology has to be planned. We can't just randomly impart technology and say, hey, this is 3D, wow. But then you get into another set of difficulties. So if you're planned well, the ROI, everything would be very easily achieved. And then, of course, there's a huge debate on if you want to design a single house or a building or complex. I think that's a different debate altogether.
Fantastic. I think it's been an exciting session, interesting session. Thankfully, we have some innovators and don't mind me, I'm quite a fan of Takbir now, that she's going into NFTs. And Abhishek, all of you have been fabulous, but don't mind me having adoration for Takbir more. Okay, but thank you all of you all for being a part of this. It's been a pleasure. And Viraj is trying to push the envelope. And Sumit, thank you all of you all. I hope the audience had a great time. I look forward to interact with you in the future, and have a good day.